Hey mamas! Welcome back to another episode, guys. My name's Jess.
My name's Erica.
And today, guys, we've got a very special guest. We have Jo. She is a hypnobirthing expert. Give us a little bit about yourself.
Hello. I'm Jo. I've got a little boy called Hugo who's 3.5, and I've been teaching hypnobirthing for just over a year and a bit now. Yeah, and it's all gone online, obviously, and it's quite a tricky time for parents at the moment, so I'm just trying to help where I can.
When the lockdown started, or you had already started beforehand?
I'd already started, yeah. It was really annoying because I'd got this whole studio sort of created, and I was having groups in to teach face to face, and it was really nice, and we really like creating some amazing communities, and it was great. And then lockdown came and I had to just close everything, so everything is on Zoom, and and it's quite good because Zoom, it's nice, it works, and you still get the same, you still make friends and things, but it's just a shame that we can't all meet up face to face. And afterwards as well, when you've had your babies, it was nice to go out and meet parents and go for walks and stuff and have a cup of tea, or and chat. And now that's just not really happening, but hopefully soon.
So I believe that you were teaching primary school, right? Or 30 kids, because I saw one of your posts on Instagram and you were like, oh, I love teaching like 30 children. I'm like, I can't even deal with one. How did you do it?
It's so much harder when it's your own child, I think. That's what I discovered when I had a baby. I was one of those teachers like, yes, no, it's all down to the parents. And then I had a child. I was like, oh my God, my child's going to be the one swearing in school. But yeah, I used to be a primary school teacher, and I used to teach the little ones in like year 1, and they were lovely. But it's really hard for them all being home now.
If anyone wants to send their kids to Jo, just let us know.
No, my one is enough, thanks, right now.
Loves it. Absolutely loves it.
Mama's Code. Did you do hypnobirthing with your first son?
Well, what I did was my husband was away a lot because he's a travel photographer, not traveling now, but he was away a lot on shoots and stuff. So I did the NHS antenatal courses, which were really like the bare bones sort of, this might happen, here's some forceps, that's what they look like, and a bit scary really. And then I looked into hypnobirthing and NCT as well, but I didn't do them because he wasn't going to be here. And also I was a teacher, and by the time I got out of school at like 6 o'clock, I was just knackered because I was a teacher and I was pregnant. And everyone who's pregnant is knackered surely by 6 o'clock. I'm still knackered now by 6 o'clock. And I just couldn't be bothered going out and doing it. So I guess that's what's good now that we've got Zoom. We can all just stay in our pajamas and just log on and do it, which is quite nice. But I didn't. So I taught myself using like books and videos and stuff. And then I had Hugo, and it was okay. Like the birth wasn't brilliant, but I think I would have got a lot out of doing a full course where you just have that ability to talk to a real person and really get to know what's what. So yeah, I do kind of regret not doing a full course now, an in-person course, but that's why I decided to go ahead and train myself and start helping other parents out and spreading the word about hypnobirthing and just about birth in general, really.
Would you recommend it? We've got a few pregnant ladies on our Instagram, and a lot of people are asking. We had a lady ask us our experience with like water birth and stuff.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I wanted to find out as much as I could when I was pregnant, because I was just really shitting myself about the whole thing. Basically, I spent my whole life not wanting to get pregnant, not wanting to have a baby, because I knew from all the TV shows that it was going to be horrific. It was going to be me on a bed screaming, because that's all you see, isn't it? And pretty much that's all the stories I'd heard as well from other people. So that just sort of compounded the fear. And I just thought, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to. And then eventually I met my husband, and I wanted to have a family. So I just thought, okay, I've got to learn about birth, and I've got to make sure that I can keep control somehow and try and understand what's going to happen to me, and try and be able to sort of make my own decisions throughout the whole process. And I think that's what hypnobirthing does. You know, you learn that it isn't just lying on your back screaming for the whole time. There's whole different, like, there's so many stages to labor, right? You know, it's not the same all the way through. And some parts of it can be quite nice, and some parts of it can be really hard. And it's about knowing how to get through those hard parts, and what's available to you to help you get through as well. And also, you know, a big part of my course is about knowing your rights and being able to make decisions for yourself. And it can really help you feel in control, and it can help you have a positive birth experience. So I think that's really important. Whatever you do, go and learn what you can about birth, and learn about what options you have in the birth room or at home, wherever you're choosing to birth.
Can I just say to everyone listening that hypnobirthing isn't some sort of like you sit in a chair and they hypnotize you? Because
Yeah.
when I first heard of it, I think I was at 25 weeks pregnant, and I was like, in my head I was like, oh my god, so does someone hypnotize me so that basically it doesn't hurt? And then obviously I read a book that someone recommended to me, and I think I must have been 33 weeks when I started reading the book. I got through it within a week, and I was like, oh my god, this book feels amazing. Like, I want to give birth right now.
Yeah, it can make you excited about it, can't it? It's a shit name. Look, come on, it's a really shit name for basically it's an antenatal course that also offers you information about how your mind and body work together. And yes, you can have you know, hit the hypnobirthing MP3s. I send out lots of MP3s to people when they join the course, and you can listen to them, and they're really relaxing, and they do work in to help you to sort of release fears and to think more positively about birth. But yeah, you're right. I'm not going to sit anyone down and hypnotize them in a.
I also think we need to make it clear that hypnobirthing doesn't guarantee, well, it won't be pain-free, because that's another thing. A friend, she was like, oh, so won't I feel pain? And I'm like, sorry, but the first person that tells me that they don't feel any pain at all during birth must be from out of this world, because you are going to feel pain. Like, it's painful to give birth.
Yeah, I mean, it's called labor, isn't it? It's hard work. I always say, like, there's no way that you're going to just sort of breeze through giving birth to a baby, because it's supposed to be hard work. It's getting a baby out of your body, and that's okay. But yeah, it's not pain-free usually. I mean, some people, you know, say that they don't experience much. I had certainly times where I thought, this is really painful. And we try and reframe it and talk about, you know, discomfort or how the sensation that you're feeling, but you know, it's not necessarily going to be pain-free. It's not necessarily going to be the perfect birth. What we want is, whatever your birth is, however it looks, to be a positive experience as much as it can be for you. And that's really important.
Compared to antenatal classes and hypnobirthing classes, where would you put your money?
I would say do a hypnobirthing class, because for me, the class that I teach anyway is an antenatal class, because it covers everything that you would learn in an antenatal class, but on top of it, it gives you that sort of mind-body connection and that relaxation part of things as well. And the sort of hypno bit is a really small element of hypnobirthing. A lot of the time we're talking about what your options are, how to write a birth plan, what birth positions might work for you, and that sort of thing, what your birth rights are. It's not all about breathing and relaxation, but there is that element to it as well. So I think you get sort of a bit of everything when you do hypnobirthing. You've got to make sure you choose a good course, because some courses will veer towards maybe just teaching those relaxation techniques and not teaching the whole spectrum of the antenatal classes. And also, you know, there are some courses here that are more veered towards home birth or having an unmedicalized birth. And if that's what you're aiming for, then you know, choose one of those courses. That's fine. But the courses I teach are all about, you know, whatever birth you have. If it's a cesarean, if it's induction, if it's a birth with any sort of, you know, different things, then you can still have a positive experience. And you can't fail at birth, you know, so you can't, some people have said to me, oh, I did hypnobirthing and it didn't work. And I think it's just that they've got the wrong idea about what hypnobirthing is. It's just an antenatal course, you know. It's an antenatal course that teaches you breathing and relaxation techniques. And it doesn't work or not work. It's just tools that you take with you into birth.
I was literally about to ask, can you take drugs? But it kind of like reflects on what you just said, you know, you're in control of your own body and it's what you want.
Yeah.
But I think there is a lot of misconception with the whole name and stuff, because I had a friend, she joined a course and they gave her like a CD to listen to that it would relax her, but she was meant to like fall into a deep relaxation where she closes her eyes. So she was like, I don't manage to do that because she suffers from really bad anxiety. When you're pregnant, you're anxious about when it's going to happen. She's like, I don't think, if I don't manage to fall asleep into that place where they want me to be, it's just going to be a waste of money. And I'm like, well, surely not, because you'll grasp other things that you've learned, you know, just the breathing and knowing how your body works and what's happening. You're more aware of what's going on, rather than, I remember when I went first time round, I didn't know anything. Me and my partner, we went to an antenatal class, but it was all kind of like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And then that's when birth is happening. And I remember like, even when I was like in labor, I was like, well, no, we can't go hospital because my waters hasn't broke. And that's what they said that will happen. So imagine, I would still be at home.
Yeah, and my waters didn't break until I was well into established labour. You know, my baby was almost arriving before my waters broke. Isn't that this? I think I listened to your birth story. Didn't that happen to you? You said you heard the pop of the waters, and like, is it Jess? And then your baby was pretty much like ready to come from quite soon after that. It doesn't just, your waters don't break and then you go to hospital, but that's what we get from the TV again, you know, from Friends.
That's why I ask about where would you put your money, because obviously now that we've been through it, I would personally recommend a hypnobirthing course, because you learn the actual science of your body and what the surges that you're like, because I never knew that your muscles contract in different directions at different points of your labor. They never told me this in antenatal. Like what Erica was saying, it's step 1, 2, 3, 5, you got a baby, and then shove it on your tit. Whereas when I was reading this book, obviously because I heard of it so late on, I didn't think of, you know, getting a course. I thought, oh, let's just read this book. But I enjoyed it so much, and the what's it called, the visualizations of your muscles contracting one way and the other was like, I think that's what helps you understand why your body is experiencing this pain when you're in labor.
Because we don't learn any of that in school even, do we? What actually happens to our body, what our uterus looks like, that it's got these 2 different types of muscles like going in different directions. We don't learn that. We don't know that until we hopefully find out before we have a baby. But yeah, demystifying what is actually physically happening to you really, really helps you to understand, so you know what's going on and it's not as scary. And that's one of the sort of main things with hypnobirthing, that we're trying to reduce the fear that you're feeling as you enter labour, because fear is just going to slow everything down, make everything more painful, make you more tense, and it's not going to help you have your baby easily. So if we can try and reduce that fear, help you to understand what might happen, what's going on with your body, and you can feel more confident, then your body's going to be more relaxed and your muscles are going to work more easily together, and it's going to release all of the hormones it needs for you to feel good while you're giving birth, and, you know, all those endorphins that are amazing pain relievers as well. And things will hopefully keep progressing at a steady pace, rather than, you know, slowing right down because you're afraid of something and your body's saying, I'm not giving birth right now because I'm scared.
So say, like, obviously you're talking about the process of it happening, and, you know, I'm sure you talk about like your body being in control, so you start dilating faster. So what about people that have C-sections? Would you say it works for them as well?
Yeah, so I do like abdominal birth workshops. So lots of the relaxation techniques are really helpful, because, you know, walking into that theatre, taking yourself in there and sitting on the bed and waiting for your spinal, that's a quite a scary process to go through if you're not sort of prepared for it, if you haven't sort of done some research about what might happen, how it might happen, what it might look like. You know, it's really great to talk about when you get into the theatre, what it might look like in there, who you might see, who you might talk to, because then you're not going in blind and scared, and you can try and relax a bit. You can use breathing techniques as you have your spinal, and you can use all of those hypnobirthing techniques that we teach all the way through your delivery then. And we talk about, you know, different ways to plan an abdominal birth. So it might be that you might want the drapes lowered so you can see what's going on. You might want your surgeon to talk you through what's going on, or you might want them to just stay quiet and, you know, play your playlist and you to just enjoy your baby being born. So it's really beneficial for that birth sort of birth as well.
The aim is to birth your baby into a calm environment. So whether, you know, you're laying on this bed, you're calm and you know that your body is actually doing what it's supposed to. Because there's even births that, yes, it's via C-section, but your body's still expressing the baby out. So I've seen videos that the surgeons just slice you open and then your body actually is contracting your baby out,
like sort of slow, gentle, slow birth.
Exactly.
Beautiful, yeah. Amazing.
Having that beautiful experience at the end, whether it's, you know, someone's pressed the red button and the whole hospital is in your room.
A lot of the people who come along, they want to have that water birth, whether it's at home or in a midwife-led unit. Some of them would like an epidural, but some of them don't. And it's about knowing that, okay, what you want, that's your plan A, have that plan A and make sure you write all of the things you want down, but also have a plan B. So, you know, if you need an induction and that's something that you choose to have, then put a plan together for how that would work for you. And if you do need a emergency abdominal birth, then have a plan for that too, so that you've thought it through and it's not just coming at you, you know, without any thought, because that's when people go, oh, it's not worth having a birth plan because it never goes to plan. But if you've thought of all of those things, then it's going to go right down one of those routes, isn't it? And you're going to have thought about your options for each eventuality. And it's really important to be open-minded and flexible about how birth might pan out, because it often doesn't pan out, you know, as the plan A, unfortunately. But if you've got other options, then it's less likely to be traumatic.
Mama, I love you.
When would you recommend to start a hypnobirthing course?
I usually say from about 20 weeks. So you might have had your 20-week scan, and then, you know, like babies are okay and you're feeling good, and it seems a bit more real at that point, I think, doesn't it? And you start to think, oh, I need to get things sorted. So that's a good time to start. But I've done courses with, you know, I've done some really intensive courses with people who are like 38 weeks pregnant, and they've come and they've gone, I just think actually I really need to sort this out now. And I'm like, okay, let's get you sorted out. So, you know, it doesn't have to be really early on, but 20 weeks is a great time to start thinking about it.
How long does the course take?
My courses last 4 weeks, and it's a 10-hour course. So there's loads of stuff we talk about, and it's 2.5 hours per session. I do them on Saturdays usually, just because it's easier, because my little boy is always waking up in the evening, so I don't do evening courses at the moment. 4 weekends. And you've got a whole bunch of friends usually at the end of it as well, which is really nice.
So do you do them in like groups and not individually?
I do groups. I do individual courses as well, which is nice, because like when my husband was away, I needed sort of someone to do something at different times. I couldn't commit to every Saturday, because half the Saturdays he would have been away working. So if that's the case, then I do one-to-ones as well. And one-to-ones can be really helpful for people. Maybe, you know, if you've had a baby already and it's not your first child, and you had a traumatic birth or something, and you want to talk about that, and you don't want to talk about that in front of lots of other people, then a one-to-one could work really well. Or if you've had a previous loss and that's coming up, then you could talk about that in, you know, a one-to-one situation might be nicer.
I know I'm asking a lot of questions. Would you recommend the partners to get involved too? Or would you solely just say it's for the woman?
I've done courses where I've just worked with the birthing person, and they've been good, but they've had to go back to their birth partner and explain everything. And a lot of the course is about how your birth partner and you can work together as a team. So if your birth partner's there, it's going to be so beneficial to you. They're the first port of call for pain relief. They are pain relief. Just having someone who you trust and you care for and you love with you is pain relief. So they are really important. I think sometimes birth partners don't realise how important they are until they've done something like a course. And they also, like my husband didn't really listen to me when I was saying, this is how it's going to work, blah, blah, blah. I needed someone else to be like, to sit him down and talk about it with him. So I think it's sometimes, maybe they just pay a bit more attention sometimes when, there's other people around as well.
Are you sure you really want to say that? Do you know what? There's some people that are like, get out, stop touching me. I remember I was in the pool for my pain relief, and I think I was at 8 centimeters at this point, and I would look at him and just like at that point I would feel like my body is now pushing, it's going the other way, and he would look at me and just take the jug and just pour water on me, because that's all he could do at that point. And I don't blame him, and I don't blame any other birth partner that you have in your room, because in theory they can't really do. In my experience was when I told him that I was reading this book and I was like, yeah, hypnotherapy and this, and my body can do this, he looked at me like, okay babe, like, good for you. But then when I was explaining to him that, all the breathing techniques and not tensing up your body, and so when it came to the big day, at points I would just completely lose focus, and he would sit in front and say, no, like, remember your breathing techniques, remember what you were reading, and just, so it was so helpful to, he didn't read the book with me, but he had some sense of knowledge, and so I think it's really important, because you can't all be in the room not knowing.
No, and it's interesting, because a lot of the men or the partners come to me and they're like, oh, this is going to be like hippy dippy stuff, and you're going to tell me to like, get my crystals out or whatever. And then they realize it's all science, like it's all logical science, and it's about how your body works, it's biology, it's not hippie stuff at all. And they're just like, oh, that makes sense. My brain understands that, and I can understand why if you're tense, your muscles won't be working effectively, and then it'll be more painful, and like they get it. So it's really nice to see that sort of transformation happen in front of you. They start to come on board, and just being able to be that positive encouragement for the birthing person is so important. And also an advocate, if your partner knows what you want on your birth plan and you've spoken about it and you've been really clear about it, they're going to be able to speak up for you if you can't at some point, because you're in a really vulnerable state when you're giving birth, right? It's like it's hard to speak up sometimes, and just having that person there that is on your side is really important.
You say I've actually never admitted to this, but so TMI, I'm putting a bit too much of me out there, but you say you're in a vulnerable state. So I remember being in the pool, and I was like on my knees holding onto the thing, and I was pushing and pushing, but I was pushing through the wrong hole. And in that moment, he was in front of me looking at what the midwife was doing, and she had the little scoop, and she just went, and I heard it, and I was like, oh my, in my head I completely lost focus. I was like, oh my god, did I just shit myself? And I looked at him like, I'm the type of, like, I've actually never farted in front. I have accidentally, but I don't like farting in front of him. Like, I want to keep that to myself. So knowing that he's watching like a little blop come out, I was like, oh my god, like, this was just too much for me to handle at that point. And that's how vulnerable you are, because what are you supposed to do? Like, nothing. And he was just like fine. And afterwards I was like, did you not feel disgusted that you were in there with water, and like, what was it that came out of me? And he was just like, Jess, it was like a full stop, like I couldn't even see it. I was like, oh my god, stop.
That's so good. We talk about that.
You saying that, like, I remember not, like, me and my mother-in-law, we never really got on at the beginning. And when I had my first child, I remember my husband was like, I really want her to be there. And I was just so over it. Like, I was like, whatever. let her be here. And I remember she held my legs opened and probably saw the head coming out and everything, and my boobs out and everything. I couldn't really care, to be honest.
Yeah, you get into that sort of set. You have to let go to give birth, don't you? You cannot sort of not let go. You have to surrender to it and let go and almost forget and go inside yourself a little bit and forget what is going on in the room around you.
Has hypnobirthing always been around? Like, where does it generate from? I know it's obviously science, and now it's like a trending thing because obviously we have so much information at our hands now. My mum didn't do hypnobirthing, that's for sure. And I don't think her generation really had hypnobirthing. It's sort of been around for, I'd say, about 30 years. Like, it came about in America, really. There was a lady called Marie Mongan, and she developed the Mongan method, which is quite different to sort of the more modern hypnobirthing methods now. But it was in like response to birth became really medicalized. You went into hospital, a doctor, delivered your baby rather than you being in control of birthing your baby. And it was in a response to that, about trying to claim back that control of the body and the birthing person's body. And a lot early on, I think it was more about not having such a medicalized approach to birth, and it can still be about that as well. But we just have this lovely balance now where we've got all the things that we need. If something happens and we need intervention, then we've got all those brilliant things. It's not either or. It's both. If we don't need that, then fine. If we need it and we need that support, it's there for us. So it's developed quite a lot. It's become a lot more about knowing your birth rights and making your own decisions and being in control. So I'd say in the UK, it came over here, it's probably about 20 years really that it's really started to flourish, hasn't it? And now we're getting loads more people doing hypnobirthing, and midwives are on board and obstetricians are on board, and there's loads of midwives that I know, even local to me, who teach hypnobirthing, and I think that's just a great sort of that's great, isn't it? Because they're obviously seeing the benefits that it brings to birth, and they're able to control the atmosphere around you for you if in that moment they're able to match your energy. And I think that's because, sometimes we've spoken about people want, I want this beautiful playlist and the candles around me and everything. But in that moment, you're so caught up in your pain and in your breathing and everything that you kind of forget. And if your birthing partner maybe is nervous, but then if the midwife is aware of all of this, they're actually able to help. Because like in my situation, that it was like that. She knew that I had done, read my hypnobirthing book. So she did everything possible that she could in order to keep that hippie kind of vibe that people call it.
And it's so nice when you get a midwife who just understands what you want and tries to help facilitate that, and to make it as comfortable for you as possible, and also, and just to keep things working for you, keep the lights low so that all the hormones that you need keep being released and that sort of thing. The midwives are doing an amazing job at the moment, aren't they?
Mama's Code.
We asked our followers to ask us a few questions, and one of them was, what are some tips you can give within hypnobirthing?
One of the big things is we teach about birth positions and how you might want to be positioned when you're giving birth. So a lot of us think about giving birth and we're lying down on our backs, and that's actually not the optimal position for pushing a baby out, because your tailbone or your sacrum sort of pushes inwards, and that takes up a bit of space in your pelvis. And your baby's kind of got to go uphill a little bit before they can come out, so you're working against gravity. So one of the most important things is sort of learning that you can try and be upright throughout some of your labour, or all of it if that feels good to you. You don't have to stand up for the entire thing, but you can kneel, you can be on all fours, you can squat, whatever feels good for your body. Try and be upright, forward and open. We call it UFO, upright, forward and open. And you can create about 30% more space in your pelvis just by doing that. And, you know, babies need to wiggle and jiggle until they're in the right position to be birthed. And moving around and being upright really helps that process, and it can really help you feel more comfortable during the whole labour process. If you want to lie down, it's okay. Like, just lie down for a bit, that's fine. But if you can be upright for part of your labour or the birthing part.
I think it's like listening to your body in that moment. Like, you actually know what you need to do in that moment. It's actually magic.
I wouldn't say you actually know what to do, because I mean, for my first labour, I couldn't bear to sit down, but I was so high on gas and air that once I got into the pool, I got so relaxed, and I literally just, like, you know when you're like in a jacuzzi and you just kind of put your arms on, like that's how I was for the whole time. And I remember the midwife was like, darling, let's try turn you around, and I was like, nope, I'm not moving, I am not moving. And it's that thing where obviously, because there's so much drugs in you, and at the same time you're in pain, you just kind of like, I'm okay here, like I'm comfortable where I am. Whereas with my second, I listened more to my body. I knew I couldn't overdo the gas and air once again, and I had him on all fours, and I promise you, like, I pushed twice, and then that was it. Like, after that, it was a done deal, and I was in labour for a short period of time compared to my first. So now that I've had obviously the two extreme experiences, I can now see that why it's better to sit up straight and not sit down, because I've also heard that the bones in your back also stop you from kind of dilating more.
Yeah, and you need to get the baby's head in the right position to like put some pressure on that area to get your cervix to dilate as well. So moving around can just wiggle a baby into a more optimal position. But yeah, you're right. And sometimes, if you're sort of not accepting of what's happening and you're trying to get out of your head or trying to get out of the situation, then you won't listen to your body. But clearly, like, the second time around, you listen to what your body wanted you to do, and it's just about tuning in a little bit and focusing on what feels good for me, where do I need to be right now, how can I move to make me feel better.
I think that's one thing I would tell anyone pregnant listening right now, is that, again, this is just my advice. Instead of reading how to wean your babies when you're still pregnant, you should be learning about what your body is doing because of this, because of what Erica's just said. Had she been more aware of what positions or what her body could do, she would feel more confident in actually, in that moment, for her it felt better to just stay there, and because it was the only way of helping her with the pain. And there's a lot of first-time parents that, I get it, everyone wants to know everything, can learn everything before the baby comes, but I think this is just, it should be your priority to learn, because I didn't even know that your baby goes uphill, and then I just thought it just that comes down. It's all...
none of that is taught. So where do we learn it? And if we don't learn it in a good antenatal classes, and when you're a first-time parent, maybe throughout history you might have been with our sisters, our aunties, and seen birth, but nowadays we don't really get that exposure to it, and we don't know what to expect. So it can be really hard if you go into it sort of blind and you don't know what to expect, and it can be really traumatic, actually. So I do lots of work with women or birthing people who have had birth trauma as well, and support those people who've had those experiences. And often it is because they didn't know what was going to happen, and it was hard to process what did happen, because it's a big thing having a baby. Yeah, people do it every day, but it's a big deal. It's a miracle every time it happens.
Say, like, I'm a first-time mother, what would be your number one recommendation?
I think I would recommend that you go and find a course that works for you, because there's lots of different hypnobirthing courses, there's lots of different antenatal courses out there, and there'll be something that will work for you, and you need to sort of get on with your hypnobirthing instructor or your antenatal teacher and trust them, so that you can be able to ask questions. And you so just look around and shop around and find someone that does suit you, because if it's the sort of, if you want more of that hippie sort of side of things, then there are people who are doing that. You can go and find them. And if you want someone who specializes in plus size birth, there's people doing that. If you want someone who specializes in abdominal birth because you have an elective C-section, go and find someone who does that. But there'll be people out there who can help you and support you.
One of the other questions was, can hypnobirthing help me after birth?
Totally, it definitely can. I mean, I think it is, like you said, you don't need to be learning too much about, sleep patterns, weaning and all that yet. Focus on your body and what it's going to do. But I do think it's really important to learn about the fourth trimester. You guys did a podcast about the fourth trimester, and like you said, like you just don't even know what it is half the time. People are not ready for it, and it can hit you like a ton of bricks. It's really hard. I had postnatal anxiety, and it was really, really a really horrible hard time, but if I'd done some preparation, I might have found that a bit easier. So I think it's really important to learn about that as well. But when you're doing a hypnobirthing course all the way through, I'm saying, you can use this breathing technique when things get too much, when you're trying to breastfeed, or when your baby is just crying, or you can't soothe them. Take a moment for yourself, do the breathing techniques, calm yourself down so that your baby feels that calmness as well, and you can help calm them down. And affirmations are great for new motherhood or new parenthood. They can help you to you question yourself the whole time. As soon as you become a parent, I think you spend a lot of time questioning whether you're doing things right. And if you can use affirmations that remind you that you're trying your best, your baby needs you, you're the best person for your baby, then that can be really reassuring as well. I do the breathing every single day with my child when he's having a tantrum or something.
What is your favorite affirmation?
The one that I use a lot is hold on, let me try. I need to remember it so that I can say it properly. I let go of what I cannot control and focus on what I can. And I think at the moment there's a lot that we can't control, and we just need to focus on the little things that we can control and be mindful of those. So I use that whether I'm all the time, and I'm not pregnant. They're useful in motherhood as well.
And the last question, does taking pain relief mean I no longer had a hypnobirth?
Absolutely not. I had loads of gas and air when I had my baby and I loved it. And I've had clients who came to me and they were like, I'm going to tell you now that I want an epidural, so don't try and talk me out of it. And I would never try and talk someone out of taking pain relief, because that pain relief is there to make, to help you through something. There's no badges for getting through birth without pain relief. If it's what you want to do, that's fine. But if you need something to support you through birth, take what you need and ask for what you need as well. It's really important. Pain relief is not a bad thing ever.
Guys, take the pain relief during labor, because there is no pain relief in motherhood. Like, once that child is out, there is no pain relief.
I've also heard from a lot of people that have epidurals, they haven't really felt what it is to give birth. And I think it's very harsh, because most of the time, you have experienced a lot, and pushing a baby out, or even a C-section, you have the aftermath, but because your vagina still aches because you just pushed a massive head out.
Yeah, you're still going to bleed afterwards. You're still going to have a long recovery. Not necessarily very long, but as long as other people. There's no I don't think it's ever easier or more difficult to have a certain type of birth. Some people will have a birth where they don't need an epidural. Maybe their baby isn't in a position where it's putting as much pain. It's not hurting them as much as someone else, and that's fine. If your baby's back to back or something like that, you've had a very long labor and you're just absolutely exhausted, and actually you need some relief, then there's no shame in taking that relief at all.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's what you need to get you through the next part of the labour.
Like you said, there is no reward. If I have pain-free, okay, well done to you, but you don't get anything after that. We all get the same reward, which is our child. Pain relief, no pain relief. So I don't really understand the
there's no hierarchy, is there?
No.
There really isn't. If you've birthed a baby, you've done something amazing. However you've done it, in any way, it's come out of you.
Yeah. So normally towards the end of our episode, we like for our guests to give a golden tip, and as you're our guest?
So I think at the moment, like if we're talking about pandemic, with the pandemic and everything going on, I think one sort of really important bit of advice would be, if you are pregnant and you feel that something isn't quite right with your baby, maybe movements have sort of reduced or something, or you don't feel quite right in yourself and you think there's something just not that you're not happy with and you don't feel good, just remember to call your maternity unit and go in and get checked, because even though you may not feel like you want to go to triage at the moment, or you don't want to be in a hospital at the moment, they're doing everything they can to make you safe, and it's really important that you look after yourself and look after your baby as well. So don't be afraid to call up and just have a chat with the midwives who are on triage. They'll talk you through it, and if they think you need to go in and just get checked, then get checked. It's always better to be safe.
Do you have a hypnobirthing voice?
I do. You have to practice, when you do your training, you have to practice reading the script. So I do, but I don't really do scripts in my classes, because most people I teach don't want to sit there with other people and try and relax. It feels a bit weird, when you're in a room of other people. It's nice when you go to yoga or something, and when I do pregnancy relaxation classes, that's nice, but it can just be a bit awkward when it's couples, and if they want to do it, I'll do it, but I tend to just give them the MP3s and teach them the techniques and say, when you're at home, when you're relaxing at home and you've got some time, listen to the MP3s and just take your own time to relax. But yeah, I can do a bit of a voice.
What do our listeners have to do if they want to come on your course?
At the moment, I'm redoing my website, so just DM me on Instagram or email me, or joe@loveparenthood.com. I've got a course in February and a course in March, a group course coming up. And yeah, we do it all over Zoom. It's really fun. And it's just nice to be able to talk to other people who are pregnant in the same situation as you, because it's hard to meet up at the moment, isn't it? I mean, I'm based in Peterborough, but I don't have to just speak to people in Peterborough. I've taught people from, all over the UK, which is really lovely.
How much do your courses cost?
It varies. So I do the full course is around £250 for 10 hours of teaching, and you get a workbook and you get your MP3s as well, and I teach about the 4th trimester as well, and I'm always on call for you well into your 4th trimester, because I don't want to teach anyone and drop them. You need support as soon as your baby's here as well. So most clients I'm still in contact with, and then I do sort of the sort of essentials course, or a workshop for birth planning, and I've got the abdominal hypnobirthing course, and they're around 2.5 hours long, so they're not as expensive, so it varies really.
I don't really think that's expensive, to be honest. You're being taught how your body's working, and I think that on top of everything, it's so important. Because like Jess said, like I said, my first time round, I had no clue what I was doing. I remember my boyfriend, he bought me 700 books, but it was just kind of those, this is what your baby looks like now. But it never really told me, obviously when it was towards 39 weeks, your body's doing this, but it wasn't as detailed as maybe you would go into, and
And like Jess said as well, it's about having that experience that is a good experience for you, so that you don't enter parenthood just completely bamboozled and trying to process trauma, because actually trying to heal from a birth physically and then mentally and look after a baby and process trauma is just all too much, and too many women have to go through it, and you deserve to be able to enter parenthood feeling okay, that was a really intense experience. Wow, I want to look back and feel proud of what happened, and not feel frightened when I think about it, and not feel upset, and not feel scared when I think about maybe doing it again. You'll never forget that day.
I was just going to say, and you'll never forget what you learned in that course. And even during parenthood, you know, everything you learn, you can still apply certain things into motherhood. So I think it's absolutely worth it. So guys, if you're interested, you can get at Joe at love_parenthood on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm always on Instagram. Spend too much time on there, so please contact me on there.
And just before we lock off, I just wanted to read something out that actually helped me a lot, and I thought it was really beautiful, and I just wanted to share it with everyone, is that each surge brings my baby closer to me. That was me being empowered and embracing each contraction that was coming through.
I love that. Take it one surge at a time. It's great.
Off I go to make another baby. Joking.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's been a lovely evening speaking to you. Thank you for all your knowledge and everything you've shared.
Thank you so much. I've loved being here, speaking to actual grown-ups instead of my 3-year-old.
Mum's Code out. Mwah.
Mama's Code.